Hey, you need to know this. You are way more vulnerable to the danger of social pressure than you think. Social psychologists discovered this decades ago in a terrifying experiment. And in this video, I'll tell you about the experiment, why it's so important that you know this, and then how to stop being so vulnerable to social pressure. Hey, I'm Jeff Kinkade, and thanks for dropping by my channel. Relationships are hard, they're worth it, and one of the reasons that there are so few lasting great relationships is because the people in those relationships, like you and me, are complex. So the more that you understand people, including yourself, the greater the chance that your relationships will be lasting and fulfilling. And that's what this channel is about. Okay, so what about this experiment? See if you can answer this question. Which line is the same length as the line on the left? Is it line A, B, or C? Well, it's obvious, right? It's line A. But wait, how confident are you about that? Are you sure that it's not line B or line C? See, that was the setup for this famous experiment back in 1951 by a psychologist by the name of Dr. Solomon Asch. He'd gather 8 people in a room, and he would ask them this simple question out loud about the lines. But there was a twist. 7 of those people in the room were actors who were coached to give the wrong answer. And before the one non-actor answered, all of the actors would give their answers out loud first. So what do you think happened? Well, you'd think that when the answer is so obvious, people would stick to their guns, right? Wrong. In group after group, the study participant would change their answer to what the actors said. And in fact, the way they changed their answers fell into one of 3 categories. First, there were the people who knew all along the right answer, but changed because they didn't want to stand out. The second category was made up of people who knew the right answer at first, but then when they heard all of the actors' answer, they thought to themselves, well, I guess I'm wrong, and they changed their answer. The third category was the most terrifying of all. These were people who started with the right answer, but then when they heard the actors give the wrong answer, they literally started believing that the wrong answer was the correct answer. They no longer trusted their own eyes. Now, it's terrifying to think that that could happen to us. And the temptation is to think, I would never fall for that. And this is why it's so important for you to understand. You and the people that you are in relationship with, whether it's romantic relationships or personal or professional, you're all vulnerable to the social pressure to conform. Imagine it's not strangers in a psychology experiment, but people that you admire or people whose approval you feel like you really need. In a culture of social media echo chambers and conspiracy theorists and misinformation and disinformation, it is shockingly easy to lose sight of reality. And if you don't think it could happen to you, that's even more dangerous. Because do you know who preys on our vulnerability to social pressure? Con artists and scam artists. Ever heard of a guy by the name of Bernie Madoff? Some of the wealthiest, most powerful people in the world fell for his scam because he promised them that if they would invest with his company, he could provide them with returns on their investments that were out of this world, too good to be true. And of course, they would have been skeptical, but friends and family members kept saying, no, it's true. Look at my states. Look at how much money I've made investing with him. And so they thought to themselves, maybe I'm wrong. And people invested nearly $65 billion with him. And then in 2008, when the recession hit, their money wasn't there. It was the biggest Ponzi scheme in history, built on nothing but social conformity. And so you see, this is one of the reasons it's so important for you to understand this, because if you don't think it can happen to you, you're even more vulnerable. Now, another reason it's important to understand this, and this is for anybody who's in management or in any position in leadership, whether it's out of fear of standing out or just the pressure to conform, the people who work for you will not naturally tell you when you're wrong, when you have a bad idea, which is terribly dangerous. And if you don't believe that's true, do a little research on New Coke. You ever heard of it? It's one of the biggest blunders the Coca-Cola company ever made. And the last question is, how do you resist the pressure to conform? First, understand that the majority can be just as affected by social pressure as you can. Don't trust that the majority is right. Second, if you're in some situation where you're afraid to disagree, ask yourself why. And if the reason is, I don't want to be canceled or mocked or rejected, guess what? You're already deep in social pressure territory. Step back. Third, if something is too good to be true, it probably isn't true. And then finally, for those of you who are leaders in any capacity, you must, for your sake and the sake of the organization, create an environment where people know it's okay to tell you that your idea is bad without repercussion. Otherwise, you'll fall prey to groupthink. Hey, have you ever fallen for a scam? You ever watched someone that you know fall into a scam? Drop it in the comments section below. And you can watch the Asch experiment for yourself. I've included the link. It's a wild ride. Hey, if you like this video, and not just because everyone else did, hit the like button and subscribe. And as I said, if you've fallen prey to a scam or someone that you know has, let us know in the comments, or better yet, tell us about a time that you resisted social pressure. That would be great to hear too. Or just say yes if any of this related to you in any way. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video on how do people and relationship.